Hi everyone, Frosty Window here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Neon Indian record, VEGA International Night School.
Anthony, I believe the term is Neon Native American, please? Don't trigger me.
Neon Indian is the musical project of producer, multi-instrumentalist, singer, and songwriter Alan Palomo, who broke in the late 2000s on the music blogosphere, which was bustling at the time with buzz for a new genre of music called chillwave. We were just chilling that wave, and we were loving this Neon Indian project. Songs like Deadbeat Summer, singles that would end up on Neon Indian's debut full-length album, Psychic Chasms, and this chillwave movement that was going on at the time, really the chillwave bubble that was going on at the time, was this style of music that everybody was hyping up to be the next big, cool thing that everybody liked. But the more we hyped it up, it seemed the faster we got sick of it. And then, once we got sick of it, all of these artists we had pigeonholed into this style of music just kind of had the relevance ripped out from under them, leaving a lot of them in a position where they had to change their sound in some kind of way. Some of these artists adjusted well, came through with successful albums, but I don't really think Neon Indian did. The follow-up record to Psychic Chasms, in my opinion, incredibly lackluster. However, this new album over here, it's been a while since the release of that last Neon Indian LP. Not really sure what to expect from this new album. I did notice that VEGA is the name of a project that Alan has also released music under, so maybe we'll be seeing a collision of the Neon Indian and the VEGA musical world. And also, this album cover is easily one of the boldest visual statements of 2015. Having said all that, Alan pulls together a pretty sharp album this time around. It's a little nostalgic, it's a little vintage, a little obsessed with 80s pop and 80s synth funk. It's a little kitschy, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's produced pretty well, it's colorful, it's fun, and there's some very catchy songs on here too. Alan's love of analog synthesizers shows up in the mix on this record in a big way. These tracks are filled with them. Not only that, but some killer grooves too. It reminds me of chillwave in that it's very nostalgic, but it doesn't have the gimmicky cheapness that a lot of chillwave records originally did. It doesn't feel one-dimensional, I guess. It's also got a bit of a sense of humor if you're paying very close attention to the vocals, which are buried a lot of the time. There is one moment where the title of the record is mentioned in the lyrics, and then you kind of get this vocal snippet saying, hey, that's the name of the record. There are also tracks on the back end of this thing, like C'est La Vie, which are incredibly goofy, silly, a little over the top to the point where it gets slightly obnoxious, I think. But I guess you can go into this album knowing safely that Alan isn't taking himself too seriously or anything like that. It's an album that wants to have fun. It encourages you to have fun, to laugh a little bit, but it's a little Ariel Pink. It's a little Toro y Moi, especially that Underneath the Pine era. And some tracks bring some more modern sounds like Techno Clique, where we do get some tech house a little bit on here. The tune isn't really that fantastic, but the beat is certainly strong. And on the song BOZO, we have this funky little warped dance loop with a hard-ass groove that sounds like Homework-era Daft Punk. Not too bad. And the vocals, for the most part, kind of sing in this falsetto, soprano range, feel a little Prince and Michael Jackson inspired. Quite a bit of variety actually happens behind the wall of kind of psychedelic synths that cover many of the tracks here. And even though the layers upon layers upon layers of synths on this thing feel sort of impenetrable, compressed, very fat, very bouncy, some highlights do manage to shine through in this beautiful little night school that's taking place in a very dimly lit, rosy club where everybody's wearing form-fitting clothing and headbands and sweating and dancing the night away and rocking fingerless gloves. The tune Annie it's okay, but I do like the steady guitars and drums on this track, especially the upstroke on the guitars. It's one of the 2 moments on here that feels a little reggae-inspired. I can't say I love the song street level either, but I do like the production on here as well, especially the very warped, woozy, blurting synth leads on this thing. It's a really trippy track. It's dizzyingly weird how the sounds are so heavily warped on this thing. I love the song GLITZY HIVE. This is one of the best hooks on the entire record, possibly the best hook on the entire record. The beat change on this track is fantastic as well. And Dear Scorpio magazine, another part of the amazing stride that I think this album hits right at the midpoint of the record. A song of seduction. It's one of the few moments on the record where the lyrics actually pop quite a bit. Too often they feel a little too buried, a little too obscured, but you actually kind of get a tale of attraction in this song that's actually pretty readable. The hook is fantastic as well. Also, another song where the lyrics shine through is Slumlord, a track on here where Alan gives us a very pointed topic and subject matter in the lyrics. The extension of this track as well, where Alan takes the beat of the song and turns it into an extended dance groove, is really great. An undeniable dance groove, not that the original track didn't have an undeniable dance groove, and that's the thing. So many good dancey grooves on this thing. I was rocking my hips! The ending of this record is a little all over the place for me, though. We do have those sort of oddball tracks that turn me off a bit. The song Baby's Eyes is kind of Alan's shot at a bit of a low-key ballad, as is the closing track, neither of which am I head over heels for. I find myself kind of torn. There are some tracks here where I feel like I just wish there was a stronger vocal presence, while in other songs where Alan does sort of seem to make room for his voice, I'm not really in love with his somewhat nasal singing. I guess I appreciate that it does sound old school in tone, and the way that he produces his vocals and mixes them does add to the kind of warped, psychedelic, weird, alternate musical 80s pop reality world that this album is coming from. I just wish the whole LP wasn't so sloshy throughout the whole goddamn thing. It's so melted that the songs just kind of all warp into one another in a way that helps the flow of this record because it makes it feel like this really cool, synced up musical experience. But the other edge of that sword is that I think some of the tracks here are just outright forgettable. I think almost the entirety of this record sounds fantastic in the background. I mean, it's fantastic at just kind of painting the air and just filling the room with these wonderful dance grooves. However, upon closer inspection, I think some of these songs are maybe a little underwhelming. But still, overall, the record does sound like one long, beautiful, drunken memory. It's definitely a good record. I'm definitely recommending it. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this thing. Give it a listen. It's fun. It's a fun record. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Tran?
Musician, have you music? Music good.